Technology is just so prevalent. I think about my kids. My daughter just finished the first year at Furman. My son is going to the 12th grade right now, and they don't know life without a microwave. Technology goes on. We have to deal with it. And when I say deal with it, I mean we have to teach our children to use it and use it properly. Certainly, the basics need to be in place when people talk about young people struggling to write letters, struggling to write and things of that nature. That's problematic. That concerns me. But we cannot back off of technology. When you think about the big book bags that you carry at home, and now a student can just have one item in his bag, and that's it. That's all the lessons that he needs right there. We have to teach them how to use these technologies and provide them for these students. Philip Thompson, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Once again, 5 very strong point of views. Question number 2 of the audience questions. Again, this is for all the candidates. What is your reaction to the concept of basing evaluation and compensation of teachers on test scores? Ms. Celia Bolin, I'll start with you.
Years ago, Celia Bolin, years ago when I taught middle school math, we had teacher incentive pay. And every summer, I would watch QVC and just wait for my teacher incentive paycheck to come through. It was for math and reading teachers, and if your student scored a certain level and you showed improvement, it was NCE gains, and you had to show for every student in the class 1.0, 1 year of growth, you got that money from the State Department, which was about half of your paycheck, not substantial to buy much on QVC in those days, but it was a nice reward for teachers who were making sure that their classes were performing well academically. That only lasted maybe 6 or 8 years, and then educational research proved that teachers did not teach differently if they were given incentive and pay, that a good teacher was still going to be a good teacher with or without a monetary value, without an extra paycheck or without money being given. And still today, educational research shows that a good teacher is going to teach and practice those good practices whether or not she's getting a little bonus or extra money. So you have different students. I know there were many limitations. I was told that I had to count a student who had scored perfect score the previous year in 7th grade math on 8th grade math and put that person in the average, but even if they scored a perfect score on 8th grade math, it was a 0 NCE. So mathematically, there were a lot of problems with making it fair to teachers with many of the rules and the implications that the State Department had in place. And if you taught math and reading, you had to do both classes, and then it was a disadvantage to teachers who taught PE or maybe the librarian who wanted to try to get incentive pay. So there are a lot of problems, and it's really not fair and equitable across the board.
Mr. Lewis Claiborne. I can, yes, sir. The question again, what is your reaction to the concept of basing evaluation and compensation of teachers on test scores?
Lewis Claiborne. Some people refer that to the merit pay. It's not an effective way. You know, all classrooms are not filled with the same academic children, the same behavior children. You know, like I said earlier, you have different type children. You have some apples and oranges and peaches. And no 2 classrooms alike. You know, it would be hard to award a merit pay on teachers' performance. You know, we need to get our salaries up where they're competitive with the other schools around here. You know, and another way to increase their salaries, we need to encourage our teachers to get their national board certification. They can get money there. They can get their advanced degrees. They can get their master's degree. They can get their master's plus 30. They can get their doctor's degree. You know, if a teacher just sits there and she's got a degree in education, that's fine. But if she wants more money, she can get out and work and make more money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Kenneth Gary.
G. Kenneth Gary. Money, money, money. A lot of money has been discussed tonight. Money, money. If the teachers deserve more money, let's give them more money. And if we can give them more money without tipping the balance in favor of one teacher of another teacher based on class size, based on scores, because some teachers are overworked, overstressed, and I know they need more money. So anything that can get the teachers more money without raising taxes, I'm for it. Thank you. G. Kenneth Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Mr. Philip Thompson.
Philip Thompson. I'm not in favor of incentive pay based on student test scores. To me, the system invites corruption, and I've been trying to think of where I saw this on some report where there was a school doing just that. They were propping up the student scores, and when further investigation was done, they found out that the grades were not real. The grades were false. And I agree with Mr. Clyburn with his method of incentive pay, and I think things like that are already in place where the teachers that continue with education get incentive pay. That to me makes sense. Basing the incentives totally on scores, I think is again, it invites corruption. Philip Thompson, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Ron Blackman.
Ron Blackman. The answer is no. Too many variables. Kids, different. All kids have different personalities. Some are good test takers. Some aren't good test takers. You can't base a teacher's worth on a test. I mean, I was based on my wins and losses for years. I had a coach one time tell me, a principal one time tell me, say, hey, I'll never fire you for losing or winning a ball game. I said, oh, hey, that's great. He said, no, I'm going to fire you because you ain't got no money in the budget. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, ain't nobody coming if you ain't winning, and I got no money in the budget. So it's not test taking where you are a quality teacher or not. Teachers teach because they love it, and they want to be appreciated. They love teaching. That's what they're there for. And our quality teachers and experienced teachers need to stay put because, like I said again earlier in this forum, they are the foundation of our education system. I see Miss Colleen Horton out there. There's one of the finest teachers in South Carolina I've ever had. So I wouldn't base her ability to teach off somebody's test scores. Ron Blackman.
Thank you, candidates. The last of our audience question portion of the forum. There are numerous ways to volunteer in the school district, from serving on the PTA, PTO, school improvement councils, mentoring, volunteer reader, or working as a volunteer in the classroom. What specifically have you done within the past year to support the school district as a volunteer? I'll start with Mr. Lewis Clyburn.
A Duke graduate, he gave me a different title. I am the hydration specialist. And I really enjoy working with these young men. You know, we talk about long distance, and they do. Some of these football players should be commended for playing football. You know, we ride them home, take them home, and it's just a joy to work with these young men and try to develop them. And I want to back up and say something about the school teachers. Our school teachers, you know, they're just great. They're overworked, underpaid, and we need to get their pay up. And when I talked about these different degrees, my wife is retiring after 35 years teaching, And she went back and got her national board. She got her 30-plus masters. You know, it's not easy. It's tough. I got a daughter that teaches. She's got her 30-plus. And hopefully I can motivate my son, and he needs to get his master's in these things. You know, but our teachers should be commended on the job they do, and our school board should be commended on how I repeat myself, this phase one, and how we spent our money wisely and spent a couple of new schools, and we've got money left over to do some more projects. And like I said a while ago, we can do what we set our minds to do in Kershaw County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Kenneth Gary.
G. Kenneth Gary, District 5. Volunteer. I volunteered in many ways, but with the Camp BDK program, Miss Lucinda Howell, thanks be unto her, and Miss Betty Turner, Miss Donna Farnham, and Mrs. Brown gave me the opportunity to teach photography and journalism. I am a photographer. I wish I was good as Mr. Johnny Deal, but he is better. I'll give him that credit. I am a photographer. My brother is a photographer, Rodney K. Gary. And as a photographer, I taught them how to hold a camera, how to capture the moment. I also taught them how to write. Those in attendance here have a copy of Camp BDK newspaper that we published. All the young people in the program understood and learned how to use a computer, how to put a newspaper together, how to write an article, tell their life experiences during the summer. I volunteered between the church and between the school district, not directly associated, but with Miss Linda Robinson, working in helping teach young people to prepare for the GED. I have successfully helped 7 people pass their GED, 3 young ladies who were pregnant who left school. I paid for one to get her class to take the test, the $80 fee. I am willing to give back, and I've always given back as a volunteer. Those who know me personally can go to my website, www.garyforschoolboard.com, or go to Facebook, GaryForSchoolBoard.com, or I'm on Twitter. So I'm using all the new technology to keep in touch with young people. Thank you. G. Kenneth Gary for School Board.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Mr. Philip Thompson.
Philip Thompson. I think the question said volunteer for the school system, or Kershaw County School Board?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's what I was afraid of, because I cannot think of a single thing that I've done for the school board specifically.
The school district.
The school district.
Yes, sir.
Well, my church is in the northern portion of Kershaw County, so lots of students that I deal with are from Lancaster County. And that's where my church service is where my volunteerism goes. I am the superintendent of Sunday schools at my church. I am the youth teacher at the church. I'm also a class leader there, and I focus on the younger people, the teenagers, and I've had many opportunities. We're, as a matter of fact, getting ready to go on a trip to Myrtle Beach, where we'll have probably about 60 youth, about 60 children that I'll be responsible for. Help me, Lord. And we'll go on that trip. It'll be just a day trip, but we'll have a good time. And I'm constantly working with young people. My company sponsors a basketball team in Lancaster County. We're constantly trying to see what we can do with the children, because after just a little while you see that it makes a big difference. You can see changes in children with just a little bit of effort, as long as it's consistent. Philip Thompson, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Ron Blackman.
Repeat the question one more time to make sure I got it.
There are numerous ways to volunteer in the school district, from serving on the PTA, PTO, school improvement councils, mentoring, volunteer reader, or working as a volunteer in a classroom. What specifically have you done within the past year to support the school district as a volunteer?
Nothing. I'm not going to blow smoke and say I've done this and done that. But I will tell you, as a volunteer, getting to be the first one at a school, because I haven't been out of school that long really, but he said look, past year, volunteered to take out an ad in the yearbook staff and so forth. We have people come in our, tell you I run to the gym and dust the bin. But let me tell you what about a volunteer. Your child is the most important thing. It's your pride and joy. And I can tell you this, that when you're the first one at the school for 29 years, or a school 29 years, you're the last one to leave, waiting on them to get a ride or give them a ride from an athletic event or any other event, while your family sits at home and waits and wonders where you are, you volunteered. I volunteered 20, almost 30 years for a lot of services like that, because when does the pay start and pay end as a coach or a teacher? There's a lot of things that we've done in our lives for education. Everybody's here talking about quality education, and volunteer our services to the children. I've probably spent more time with other people's children than I've spent with my own, to be honest with you. So volunteer right now, I can't give you an example of volunteering. Y'all know that. That's kind of a tough question. Everybody's trying to make up something. Cea's going to come up and talk about the Alpha Center. So, hey, all of that's going to take place.
Thank you, Mr. Blackman. Celia Boland.
Celia Boland, and yes, I do have a list. First of all, I'm a mentor with the Safe Schools, Healthy Schools grant, the United Way, hand in hand. I go and visit my mentee once a week at Camden Middle School. I've done that for 2 years, starting with at Jackson School, and helped her make a tremendous transition from elementary school to middle school, and she's thriving and doing very well, and her academic performance has increased greatly. I did last 4 months in retirement. I had schools and children in my blood. I could only stay out of the schools for 4 months before I applied for a job with the Alpha Center with the grant, the Truancy and Transition Specialist. I go and help them for the week with summer camp, also doing the CLC orientation, parenting classes that we offer through the Truancy and Transition Specialist team, helping parents learn how to parent and just the basics of making sure their students got up and got to school. Also at CLC, twice I provided teacher appreciation, one time at Valentine's Day with goodies and surprises, and also during Teacher Appreciation Week. I've gone and helped in schools where they wanted to start up a robotic team. I make sure that when the school district years ago had some construction and things going on at every high school, I immediately called my husband and said, "Can you sponsor the Special Olympics for Kershaw County schools?" He said, "Sure." And that has been excellent with the volunteer work and the bringing in of community and business partners and the amount of hours. And he hopes to continue to sponsor the Special Olympics. And it's a perfect unity of everything that needs to be going on in the schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia Boland. That concludes the questionnaire portion of this forum. At this time, I would like to invite each of the candidates back to the podium to give a 2-minute closing statement, and we will reverse the order in which the opening statements were made. So we will begin with Philip Thompson and go back up the table. Mr. Thompson.
Philip Thompson. First of all, let me begin by reiterating something you already know. And some of this will be repetition because I've covered some of it in some of the other things I've said. But children, students, or our youth, however you want to identify them, hold the future of our lives in their hands. They'll be the ones making the decisions. They'll be the ones that will lead us and affect every aspect of our lives. So it makes good common sense for us to provide an excellent environment for them to learn in. Now, how do I fit in that environment? I believe that Philip Thompson will be an excellent asset to the Kershaw County School District. I have a unique set of skills. We've talked about my computer experience, extensive computer experience. I was a hardware designer for Honeywell for about 7 years. That's in line with the kinds of things that Kershaw County is trying to do right now. The laptop per student incentive is going on right now. We're also talking about iPads, and we're talking about notebooks. All these things are in line with Kershaw County's commitment to staying on the technological edge of this state, being a leader in technology. Now, I also have 20 years of experience leading a very successful company. I know how business works, and I know that businesses do want to be partners with their community and with their schools. And I believe in the concept of perfect knowledge. And that is, if you know everything there is to know about a situation, then you'll always make the proper decision. Well, we usually don't know everything there is to know, but I know I'm a reasonable person, and I know how to acquire facts, get that information, and make a reasonable decision. And hopefully I've given you enough information to make a sound judgment here. Vote Philip Thompson, seat 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Gary for his closing remarks.
It has been an honor, and it's been my privilege, and I've been blessed to stand here today because of some brilliant teachers who gave their lives for my benefit. A teacher will spend 1 year with you, but what they do for you will last your entire lifetime. You are seeing before you today a product of Kershaw County Public School System. Ms. Holly taught U.S. history and the Civil War, and she taught something to me about the Civil War that I didn't understand. She said, you and those who don't know, blacks served in the Civil War on both sides. And I didn't understand until I got to college. This system of South Carolina has two important things. You have love, and then you have hate. But hate and hope itself is mixed into two things. I stand before you because I'm bringing hope. Hope is the thing that you cannot see. And when hope runs out, you have faith. I have faith that you would do the right thing on June the 12th and vote for G. Kenneth Gary, because I have something that is missing in the school system on the school board. I have a legacy that's living inside of me from Mr. Aaron Huff, Mr. Shivers, Johnny Williams, Mr. Benny Pickett. I have something else that is missing. I have a family that believes in education, and I believe in education. It's not about who's better and who's not better. It's about making the right decision. You hear us today, Mr. Boland, Mr. Clyburn, Miss Blackman, Miss Boland, Coach Blackman, Mr. Clyburn, and Mr. Thompson have all offered themselves, as well as Matthew Ard, Mr. Barry, Eric Zakor, Mar Horton-Jones, Miss Jenny Coomis. Everyone has put their name on the dotted line because they say, we are here for you. Vote right, vote G. Kenneth Gary, and God be with you. Bless you.